Beyond the Sea or La Mer is one of those swing tunes that, thanks to a multitude of crooners, is still popular to this day. And in today's lesson, I'm going to show you the chords, talk about what's going on, discuss the form, the key changes, typical chord progressions, and there's a PDF link in the description, so be sure to check that. Now let's get on to the lesson. Let's put the chart on the screen and discuss the form first. So the form of this song is AABA, but most swing era tunes are in AABA form, but with 8 bars for each section, so giving you 32 bars overall. Whereas with this, each section is 12 bars, so that makes this a bit different to other tunes of the era. Now, it moves through 3 keys, so look at the first key signature. It starts in the key of F, 1 flat, and then for the B section, it moves to the key of A, and then to the key of C, and then back to the key of F. So you've got 3 key changes there. So you move from F to A to C and then back to F. So I suppose there's 4 key changes, but there's 3 keys in total. So let me play through the chords before we talk about what's going on harmonically. Now, this is the way I like to play the chords. Sometimes I've got them written as 6th, but you might see people play a lot of major 7s on this. I think swing era tunes and songs like this sound sweeter with 6, just my personal preference. And also, you know, I love the Django version. He uses a lot of 6ths in his rhythm guitar we're playing, or certainly his rhythm guitar player did. All the shapes you can download as a PDF from my website alongside the chart, so I've written 2 separate PDFs for that. You repeat the same thing twice there. First time bar, G7, C7, back to the start. So A7, bit of movement. We're about to gonna hit the second time bar in a second. So now, so we go G minus 7, then the F6 9, then E7, which we're using to change key. So let's just pause there and think about what's going on. So key of F, we're in 1 flat. So the chords in that key are F, you know, it could be F6, F major 7. This is F, G minor, A minor, B flat major, C, more likely C7 because it's the dominant 5th chord, D minor, E minor 7 flat 5, back to F. So that's our chords 1 to 7 in this key. Now I've colour coded it, so the blue are in key, the red are out of key. So our first line is just a 1-6-2-5, which is a classic intro progression. You've heard that before. And all of the out of key chords that you see, they're really just functioning as dominants to make a nicer change to a chord. So when we go in the second line, F to A7, that A7, obviously we don't get A7 in this key. Looking back a second ago at our chart, A minor was the A chord, so A7 is a secondary dominant, and it's a dominant of D, so it likes going to D chords. And lo and behold, it goes to D minor. Now, if we just had the A minor 7 instead, so like F6, A minor 7, D minor 7, it sounds fine. It sounds okay, doesn't it? But it doesn't sound as strong as the A7 got a stronger pull to it. So we got chord 1, then I'm going to call this 3-7, out of key though because it's a dominant, not the minor 7 the 3 chord should be. Then we got 6, 2, 5, then this back to chord 1, then the augmented chord, which is what the plus stands for. Now augmented chords really function like dominant chords usually. They want to go to their respective 1. Now an F7 or an F augmented chord likes to go to a B flat, and lo and behold we go to B flat 6, and then we get another dominant, out of key dominant. Remember C7 is the 5th chord in this key, so any other dominants other than C7 in this section where it's in the key of F are secondary dominants. So this D7, D's the dominant of G, we go to a G. And then we get this C7, C sharp diminished. Now, interesting chord this. It wants to go to that D minor. You could play an A7 here, and really this is probably substituting for an A7, but these diminished chords also work like dominant chords. If you take the notes in this, C sharp, G, B flat, E, compare them to an A7 being has A, C sharp, G and E, it's the same notes apart from the A, and you've got the A flat. So this diminished chord, this C sharp diminished, is like an A7 flat 9 sound. So it's like an A7 flat 9 but without the root. So it's really working like an A7 to lead into the D minor 7. We then get another secondary dominant, so we get, I've labelled it as 2-7 there, the G7 the first time bar, which is the 5 of C, which takes you to the 5 chord. So that's all about, you know, a stronger pull to that C7. We're then back to the start, so 1, 6, 2, 5, 1, 6, 2, 5, then 1, third, 3, 7, 2, sorry, 6, 2, 5, 1, 1 augmented, chord 4, chord 6 but as a dominant, 2, 5, then the diminished, which I've labelled on the chart. Let me have a look. I've labelled it as a flat 6 diminished. Why have I called it that? Because, excuse me, the 6th chord in the key is D minor 7, the flat, you know, so go 1 lower than that, C sharp, and it's a diminished chord. Then we're into that D minor 7, which is chord 6, and then the second time bar is a 2, 5, 1. Now I've labelled the next chord as 5, the E7, because it's the 5 of the next key, and we move into that key now, into the key of A. So in the key of A we've got a different set of chords. We've got A, B minor, C sharp minor, D, E, F sharp minor, G minor 7 flat 5 will diminish back to A. Obviously we could make those 7s and 6s, but let's just think about that in relation to this section. So that makes this A, F sharp minor, quite easy to understand, B to E. It's a 1, 6, 2, 5. So it's the same progression as the song starts with, but in a different key. So in the start we went F, D minor, G minor, C, and then this is the equivalent but in A. You hear that? And we do that twice, and then we stay on an A6 but then go to a G7. Dominant chords always signal we're going somewhere else. So where are we going? G7, it's a dominant of C. So we're then going to the key of C, which yields the following chords: C, D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor, B minor 7 flat 5, C. And that will sound like this: C, A minor, D minor, G7, which is really 1, 6, 2, 5. Then we stay on 1, and then we do the classic make 1 a dominant, and C is the dominant of F, so that helps us get back to the A section, F. And we just got the same section there. But with the second time bar that we had earlier, which would help us do it all again. Now there's a lot of shapes there, a lot of chords that could probably be stripped back a little bit if you wanted, but although there's a lot happening, there's a lot of the same things happening and just happening in different keys. So as I said, we move through F, then we move to the key of A, then we move to the key of C, then back to F. And the 1, 6, 2, 5 is what you're playing the majority of the time. And that's a chord progression you really want to recognise by the sound of it. Ideally, like 2, 5, 1s, 1, 6, 2, 5s, you should be able to spot like that. You should just know like that a 1, 6, 2, 5 in C is C, A minor, D minor, G. In F it's F, D minor, G minor, C, you know, albeit as 7ths or whatever. I'm using some 6ths here. That doesn't really change anything, just changes the character a little bit of the 1 chord. And as you can see from the Roman numerals and the way I broke down the chords in each key, it's so much easier if you know the chords in the keys, or certainly in the common keys, and you can easily understand what's going on then. And as ever, when I analyse songs, particularly from this sort of era, how if you get an out of key chord, it's likely to be a dominant, and that dominant is likely to go where you expect it to go. And if you're not sure where dominant should go, that's definitely something you want to get under your fingers and in your head. And the circle of fifths can show you that. I'll put the circle of fifths on the screen, and if you look there, you know, C, G, it's moving clockwise in fifths. So if you start at C, the 5th or the dominant of C is the one next to it to the right, which is G. If you want the dominant of A, look 1 to the right, look 1 clockwise from it, and then you've got E, and that's the dominant of that. So that's a very useful visual aid to help you with that. Things like, you know, like I say in videos often, A7, that wants to go to D. Whether it goes to a D or a D minor, you know, depends on the composition and the intentions of the songwriter. But you should know that. You should know A7 wants to go to D, G7 wants to go to C. Learning your 5/1s should be something you want to get absolutely secure. Be sure to check out Django Reinhardt's recording of this. I think it's wonderful, and his accompaniment beneath Stefan Grappelli's violin playing is just sublime, so check that out. If you want some other videos to help you with some of the concepts in today, then if you're struggling with chord changes, which might be a problem with some of the things in this, then take a look at my video, my #1 chord change practice method. And another video that might be helpful in this instance is how to place chords. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. Until next time, you take care.